there was a common tradition of symboling across the planet. The artists made replicas of their religious sanctuaries with little miniature figurines and miniature vases, miniature artifacts in them. There's a Neolithic civilization, not just in Europe, but China and Africa and so forth, should be part of all our textbooks. There is rock art of hunter-gatherer peoples 50,000 years ago, in which the same symbolic traditions are being shared all over the world. We should know about that. It might be useful to us, to know about our roots, about our ancestors. Some of the signs are different in the Upper Paleolithic and the Ice Age art of Europe, but some are the same. They were expressing a spiritual religious worldview at this period of time. And it was their relation to nature and to their community was represented by these signs. And one of my tasks is to try and decode the meaning of these symbols. How was it they made boats at 500,000 years ago and sailed to the island, to the Southeast Asian islands? How is it they had beautiful pentagonal hut floors, perfect pentagons, symmetrical pentagon point posts for their hut floors in Japan 500,000 years ago that they discovered a few years ago? And now we know, of course, they were making figurines. So from Barakat Ram in Israel, we have a late Acheulean figurine, female figurine, looking very much like those later Upper Paleolithic Willendorf figurines. Human beings have been making their mark for at least, probably with the Acheulean, at least with Acheulean stone tool industry that's associated with Homo erectus and Homo ergaster in Africa and around the rest of the world, spreading out of Africa. From the earliest of those tools is 1.4 million years old. So this tradition of, and there are markings, clear markings by 800,000 years ago. So the marking tradition of geometric signs begins around 800,000 years ago, perhaps earlier. The oldest piece of evidence we have is 800,000 years ago. And later evidence at 500,000 and then subsequently. So we know that people were making marks, specific marks which appear to have an intentional meaning. If we look at the data, not project into it, but look at the data, we can look for the patterns that are in the data itself, in the signs themselves. How the signs are combined, how the signs are placed against pictorial images in the same register, so to speak. So the sign means what the image means. That's how you get a decipherment. And another thing we know just in general about prehistoric art is frequently the most abstract markings are used to represent the deity, because the deity, of course, is so abstract. The very concept is abstract. So geometric markings frequently encode, can encode a theology, basically. Those people who don't like the goddess tradition, it will be hard for me to raise this point for them, but this goddess tradition is probably as old as human evolution, probably 3 million years old. And if you don't like the term goddess because it comes out of classical Greek culture as a term or whatever, that's okay. But what this represents as part of our spiritual tradition of who we are, it is millions of years old. And we're in the process of decoding it. And I'm not the only one. There are dozens of people out there working on this. And what's wonderful is Alexander Marshak, the archaeologist, who is one of the great specialists on the Paleolithic of Europe, has a series of essays on decoding some of the graphic signs, and he happened to work with the sign having the meander zigzag signs totally independent of Maria, and came up with the same decipherment. Some archaeologists can't understand it or don't want to read it, or there's some tiny part of it that maybe it needs to be updated, so they reject the whole thing or whatever. Whatever their problems are with it, it doesn't matter, because our psyches are demanding that we go back and learn about this. We need to know what was our original planetary language, and rock art is that language. It should be taught in every university. It's taught now in not a single university in the United States, and not, I don't think, anywhere in the world. Is there, you can take a semester in rock art. It's part of our living tradition. I want to deny that it exists. Some people want to just deny that it even exists, or call it speculative. It's our living tradition. It's in us all the time, and artists are articulating it now.